Welcome back to MotionPic Recap. Today we're going to recap the action, thriller and comedy movie titled, Red. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. At exactly 6 a.m., Frank Moses wakes up. He goes up to take his morning coffee, after which he exercises. As he receives his pension check, he gets happy, and makes a call to his representative at the pension administration. Her name is Sarah, and as he says it's Frank Moses, she lights up. He tells her he didn't receive his check again, and she says she's sorry and will send another one for him. He asks about her day, and she replies it sucks, saying she wants to travel. He asks what new book she's reading, and she says it's about this supermodel couple who get recruited by the CIA to stop an assassin in Milan, which she thinks is super exciting. They end the call, and in the evening, Frank reads the book she talked about. That night, Frank wakes up early, and as he gets down, armed men are following him through his house. They attack, but Frank is gone, and appears behind them, quickly attacking them back. Having fended them off, Frank hears others outside and creates a trap in the kitchen. He goes down to pick out some money and weapons. Suddenly, his trap sets off, and his house is bombarded with bullets. Mercenaries enter his home, and Frank welcomes them wholeheartedly, taking down one after the other. Once every mercenary is dead, he leaves. Next, Sarah is seen driven home by some weird date. Inside, she's talking to herself, saying she won't see that guy again. Suddenly Frank appears, saying with a very soft voice he's Frank, and she gets scared. She tells him to get out, but suddenly notices he has packed her bag, and also has vacuumed her apartment, thinking he's a freak. She begins yelling, and Frank tries to stop her, saying someone is trying to kill him, and now her too. Sarah asks why anyone would want to kill her, and Frank replies they have listened to their conversations over the phone and know he likes her. Next, Frank tries to explain how he hoped to meet her under different circumstances, but says he hopes they will both look back at this as an adventure. She begins screaming inaudibly, and Frank replies he is hungry too, and asks her what they should eat. Meanwhile, a man is seen preparing something, and suddenly walks up to a man and hangs him. His name is William Cooper, and outside, he meets a woman who says he has a new target. Cooper reads his target is a retired analyst from the CIA. In New Orleans, Frank and Sarah arrive at a motel, and he ties Sarah to a bed. She tells him she won't press charges if he lets her go, but he says they are way past that. He tells her he's CIA, but she doesn't believe him. Frank comments she has beautiful eyes, and informs her he has to go talk to someone. Next, a man called Joe has problems with the TV. He gets help from a woman, but starts looking at her, saying she's nicer to watch than the TV. Suddenly Frank appears, commenting he should be ashamed of himself. Frank tells Joe he was attacked by a wet team, and shows him some fingers. Joe makes a call, and tells Frank those who hit him also killed a New York Times reporter called Stephanie Chang. Meanwhile, Cooper is looking through Frank's papers, and finds a pension check. Simultaneously, Sarah frees herself, and suddenly Cooper sees her phone making a 911 call. Not long after, a cop tells Sarah he can take her home. She follows him, but is grabbed and injected with something. From nowhere, Frank appears to save her. They take the police car, and being high, she comments he's handsome. A car crashes into them, and Frank steps out heroically and counters the attacker, which is Cooper. As he steps back into the car, Sarah remarks he really is CIA. Frank informs police over the radio a suspect is driving a black SUV. He makes a trap, which Cooper walks straight into, and the police arrive to arrest him. Next, Sarah wakes up, asking how they got to New York City. Frank says he hoped she'd be more understanding about the situation, and she replies she hoped not to be kidnapped, or drugged, or get a date without hair, and Frank says he's sorry. She however thanks him for saving her. They get to Chinatown, and Frank picks up duct tape, and she exclaims, he can't go around duct taping everyone. Minutes later, they talk to Stephanie Chang's mother, who shows a card she got on the day Stephanie died, with mysterious numbers. Frank then asks where Stephanie went to college. Next, Frank explains to Sarah the numbers are a classification for Asian literature. She asks how he knows, and Frank starts speaking Chinese fluently, which impresses her. They find a book, with a note in it. On it are a list of names, and almost all have recently died in mysterious circumstances, but they seize one man who isn't. Frank makes a call, but learns the man has just been murdered. At CIA, Cooper storms into his boss, saying Frank is not an analyst, and she gives him a note, saying he will meet the records keeper. He remarks he didn't know this place existed, and the records keeper says it doesn't. They bring out Frank's files, and everything is blacked out, and the records keeper tells him Frank Moses was one of the most effective black op agents the CIA ever had, saying some thumbsucker labeled him Red when he retired. Cooper asks what it means, and he replies, "You know, RED, retired, extremely dangerous." He adds they don't make them like Frank anymore, and Cooper smiles. Frank tells Sarah they need to find Marvin Boggs, and they take a motorboat. They arrive at a seemingly deserted place and suddenly, Marvin appears. Marvin asks why they are trying to kill him, and Frank replies they're not trying to kill him, and asks him to take away the knife from his balls. As Marvin leads them to his house, Sarah asks why he's not living in the actual house, and Marvin answers he doesn't want eyes on him. As Frank mentions he got attacked, Marvin begins babbling, telling Frank he cannot trust the systems, with phones, satellites, dentists, all around him. Frank stops him and gives him the list of dead people and Marvin goes to check his files. He discovers 5 of the people on the list, not including themselves, were in Guatemala in 1981. Apparently, a village was destroyed there, and they were tasked to make it look like it never happened. Marvin gets happy, yelling he never thought he'd take out the pig again. Next, Marvin is suspicious about Sarah, saying they got to get rid of her, and Frank says they will not, because he likes her. Marvin then sees a helicopter and notes its number, N9748C. Sarah tells them a man on the list called Singer is going to be at the airfreight terminal tomorrow. Next day, the trio is heading for the terminal, when suddenly Marvin grabs a woman. Marvin tells Frank she's been following them, saying she has a camera, and Frank tries to stop him, showing him she has no camera in her bag. Marvin gets disheartened, and Frank tells him to go get the car. Not long after, they meet Singer. Singer explains a reporter asked him about Guatemala, but he didn't say anything. Frank informs him everyone from Guatemala is now dead, except him, and themselves. Suddenly, Marvin sees a helicopter with the same number as before, N9748C. While they discuss if it's the same helicopter, Singer gets shot. Apparently, Cooper has ordered to kill them all. The trio escapes, but the woman Marvin suspected from before appears, shooting at them. They open Marvin's pig, and start shooting back at people. The woman appears with an RPG, shooting at them. After the shot, Marvin walks out, and the two have a standoff. He manages to take her out with his gun, hitting the next rocket-propelling grenade, after which Frank remarks it was a great shot. Cooper is upset, and the 3 manage to escape. While Sarah rests, Marvin tells Frank he really knows how to show a girl a good time. Marvin then says there is only one place they can go to find out why they are coming after them, but will get killed if they try to get there, and will need some serious help. Next, Marvin tells Frank this is not the kind of help he meant, saying that last time, these guys put some electrical wires in some not very nice places. Frank goes in alone. It's the Russian embassy, and as he gets to the entrance, he's caught by soldiers. A Russian says this is the last thing he expected when he woke up this morning, saying he has long dreamt of killing him. Surprisingly, he changes attitude and takes up vodka, and they make a toast. The man, whose name is Ivan, says he hasn't killed anyone in years, and Frank comments it's sad. Shortly after, Frank tells him he's gonna break into the CIA and needs help. Ivan adds he can't help him, but as Frank offers him a favor, Ivan can't say no. Next, Sarah is overjoyed she gets to come along. They manage to get in, but in the elevator, Sarah drops his contact lens to get past a security check. The alarm triggers, and as soldiers appear, Sarah gets them to help find it. Frank puts it on, and gets authenticated, and the soldiers let them go. He then holds down a button, and they get to a secret floor. Frank tells her the code to get past the door is unbreakable, but opens it in another, secret way. The record keeper, whose name is Henry, is happy to see him. Frank asks about the Guatemala files, and Henry helps him, explaining a new guy with cute hair came down looking for his file, a guy named Cooper, who looked a little tough. Frank tells him to take care. Next, he walks in on Cooper, and they begin fighting, all while Sarah waits in the coffee room. Frank asks Cooper if he got trained by Kordeski, which Cooper confirms. He then comments he himself trained Kordeski, and dislocates Cooper's arm. Frank runs, but gets shot in the shoulder. He turns on the fire alarm, gets Sarah, and then goes to a nearby room and mixes some chemicals in a bucket. The two leave, and soon after, Cooper and another man see Frank's explosion. Sarah tricks a fireman to help Frank, who's bleeding, and disguised, Frank gets past guards looking for him, and the duo go out to an ambulance. They see Marvin having a gun to his head, and suddenly, Joe opens the door, making a joke about Marvin, after which they take off. Cooper's boss is angry Cooper didn't manage to kill Frank, and Cooper asks what Frank did to even deserve to get killed, to which his boss answers she has no idea. Sarah is worried since Frank is still bleeding, and Frank says they got to go to Eagle's Nest. Marvin comments they will definitely get killed if they do. They arrive at Eagle's Nest anyway, and Frank looks around in the house, seeing a woman. Her name is Victoria, and she asks if he's there to kill her. Frank says no, after which she asks him to tell Marvin to stand down. Victoria helps Frank with his bullet wound, after which they gather together and Joe comments there's someone called Dunning on the list who's alive, a gangster who the CIA is protecting. Frank says they should go visit him, and Victoria says she will join them. Joe then remarks he's glad they're getting the band back together. As Cooper checks on his family at home, his boss calls him to explain Frank has a new target. Next, the team arrives disguised to Dunning's home, and Victoria sees the CIA surveilling him in the woods. Dunning and Joe go into a soundproof room to conduct their business so the CIA won't hear. However, as they begin talking, it knocks on the door, and thinking it's his guards, Dunning open, only to see Frank, who knocks him unconscious. Outside, Sarah talks about Frank, and then Victoria reveals she was in love with an agent once, but she was in MI6, which he wasn't, and one day she was ordered to kill him to show her loyalty. She ended up putting 3 bullets in his chest. Inside, Dunning asks who they are, and they answer they were the ones who cleaned up his mess in Guatemala. They pick up tools, asking who he helped escape from Guatemala. Scared, Dunning answers he flew out a young lieutenant, who was the son of the man who's now the vice president. They ask about the New York Times reporter, and he tells them she called him twice, and so he called the vice president, who is now trying to clean up his past. Suddenly, Victoria tells them they are blown. Cooper arrives, and agents surround the area. Joe knocks Dunning out, and then the phone calls, and it's Cooper, telling them to give up and come out. Frank explains the vice president has ordered the hits on them to cover up war crimes he committed in Guatemala, which Cooper doesn't believe. But as Frank rhetorically asks how he knew he would find them at Dunning's home, Cooper promises no one will shoot them, and that he will personally make sure he gets to testify. Victoria says agents are everywhere, but that she can cover them to the woods if they have some distraction. Joe says someone will have to make the hard choice, and Frank hugs him, saying it has been an honor. As someone is coming out, Cooper tells every agent to hold their fire. But despite his order, some agent shoots the man, which makes Cooper angry and confused. Cooper runs up and sees it's not Frank that came out. Frank and Marvin escape, and Victoria covers for them, after which she and Sarah run to get away too. Soon after, Sarah trips and falls, and gets taken by agents. Victoria gets to the others, and informs them the CIA took Sarah. Surprising them all, Ivan appears in a car from nowhere. Later, the team makes a toast to Joe, after which Victoria says they must find a way to expose the vice president's war crimes. Marvin starts talking about how they will torture Sarah if they do, and Frank leaves upset. Victoria calls Marvin an idiot, and Ivan goes in to talk to Frank. He shows Frank something, 3 bullet wounds in his chest, saying the love of his life once shot him, and now she sits outside his house, drinking vodka. He tells Frank that when he woke alive, he knew she loved him, or it would have been in the head, saying one does crazy things for love. As Sarah is interrogated, Cooper gets a call from Frank. Frank tells him that what he loves can be taken away from him. Suddenly, Cooper manages to trace the call to his own house, and Cooper gets scared. Frank threatens him not to hurt Sarah or his family will get hurt. He then tells Cooper he will kill the vice president. CIA agents arrive at Cooper's home, and after Cooper himself arrives, he finds the list of dead people, and the Guatemala file, in his living room. Once back at the CIA, he asks Sarah about the file, and she answers they found it at the secret records depository in the building, and adds Frank will eat him for lunch. Afterwards, Cooper tells his boss he'll need to help the Secret Service to defend the vice president. Somewhere else, Frank tells Marvin he put a few toys away just in case, and Marvin comments the vice president is gonna love this. Next, at a fun gala, Cooper is helping the Secret Service, and the team is preparing to take down the VP. As the vice president has held his speech later, Ivan takes Victoria for a dance, and he tells her that her radiance almost makes him speechless. The music stops, and Ivan goes to work, walking around and spraying some substance in the room. Victoria locks a door with a special necklace, after which she goes to meet Marvin. Ivan suddenly yells he smells gas, and activates the fire alarm. The vice president and Secret Service can't get out the door and take another exit. They get to their cars and start driving, but Victoria shoots at them and totally devastates their cars. While Cooper is trying to get to them, Ivan arrives in an elevator, picks up a pen, and triggers a bomb in the vice president's backup car that just arrives. The Secret Service then brings the vice president back inside, all while Cooper manages to get to the heavy machine gun, which now is unmanned. Meanwhile, the Secret Service is once again stopped by Victoria, who is getting help from Marvin. As the Secret Service flees again with the VP, Marvin comments he remembered the Secret Service being tougher. They try to get out, but are shot at, and unfortunately Victoria is hit. Marvin creates a distraction with smoke grenades, and they get away. She tells him she's no use anymore and he should go. She tries to get out on her own, but gets stuck, and hears the police closing in on her. From nowhere, Ivan appears, assisting her in opening the door, and Victoria comments she loves him, and he replies he knows. Outside, the VP and Secret Service suddenly see Marvin running towards them with a suicide vest on him. They start running, and as a presidential car appears, the VP gets in. Cooper appears yelling to stop the car, but is ignored. Minutes after, the driver turns his head, and it's Frank, chasing them. The vice president wakes up later, and when Frank mentions he was in Guatemala and saw what he did, the VP starts crying. Frank calls Cooper and tells him he has 15 minutes to bring Sarah to a nearby power plant, or he'll kill the vice president. Cooper informs his boss where they are, and that she should alert the Secret Service. Cooper arrives, telling Frank it's over, and Frank says they will see. A limousine appears, and out steps Cooper's boss with Sarah, as well as Denning, but no Secret Service agents arrive. Cooper wonders what is going on, and suddenly, Denning shoots the vice president. Frank says Sarah goes free, and Denning replies he will have to trade his life for hers. He tells Sarah he tore up all those checks to talk to her, and she replies she knows. Denning tells Cooper to cuff Frank, which he does, but figuring his boss and Denning are dishonest, he gives Frank the key. Denning then says the world will learn Frank shot the VP, and Sarah. But then suddenly Frank starts walking towards them. Cooper shoots his boss, and then everyone else is shot, and Frank crushes Denning's throat. The team appears from the shadows, and Frank hugs Sarah. Frank then thanks Cooper, and Cooper says he will take care of everything. Suddenly Marvin shoots an already dead guy, and asks them all if they want pancakes. In the car home, they are happy since no one is chasing them anymore, but then Ivan reminds Frank he gave him a favor. Marvin can't believe he gave a favor to Ivan, and Ivan explains it's just a tiny little nuclear problem in Moldova. Sarah asks if they can go, and Frank says yes, and the two start kissing. In the last scene, Marvin comments he thinks Moldova sucks, all while he and Frank are being shot at by soldiers. The end. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and hit the like button to help us out. Until next time, take care.